30 years ago, the first monument on the National Mall was dedicated to honor American women's wartime patriotic service, their achievements, courage, and sacrifice.
We have waited for this day, but we have also feared for this day. We feared that it may never happen. We feared that the nation wouldn't care. And we feared that we would never find a monument that would meet the approval of the federal agencies in this town. And we feared that those who said ours was the impossible dream were maybe right.
Women's contributions no longer hide in the shadows, but are the inspiration for this annual Veterans Day observance at the Wall. The memorial was a dream, then became a challenge for the girl who grew up on a dairy farm in rural Minnesota. She graduated from nursing school in Minneapolis, following in her mother's footsteps. Then she became a nurse and volunteered to serve for a year in Vietnam as a member of the Army Nurse Corps. She returned home to fight another battle. Instead of 1 year roughing it, Diane Carlson Evans fought a 10-year war, a war this time she won. She formed a militia that was too often uncertain if success was in the future.
There were times the odds were against us. Powerful individuals stepped up in opposition. Newspaper articles disparaged us. One article said, adding a statue of a woman on the grounds of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial would be like adding Elvis Presley to Mount Rushmore. What? What did he just say? Another, that ours was a tacky lawn ornament. One, we didn't deserve a monument on the wall.
Slowly, the tide changed.
Another day, I opened an envelope with 2 $1 bills in it with a note from a young child. This is my allowance. I wish it were more. You saved my daddy's life. Hundreds more letters poured in from our brother veterans, sharing their stories of how women participated in the war effort, then stepping up to support honoring them. How could we give up? It just wasn't an option.
Women didn't have to enter military service, but they stepped up to serve with their brothers in arms. What has happened in the past 30 years is the least of the courtesies that should be extended to them.
The Vietnam Women's Memorial has impacted our healing, instructed historians of women's role during the Vietnam War, changed the imagery and conversations of who serves in the military, and prompted school children at the direction of their teachers to write letters, hundreds of them handed to women veterans on honor flights, bringing joy and smiles to their faces. 30 years since the dedication, we reflect on how extraordinarily those women have contributed since their service during the Vietnam era. They stepped up to fight for comprehensive gender-specific needs of women in vet centers and VA medical centers across the United States. They fought for benefits for service-connected illness or injury. They lobbied for women to be included in research on PTSD and Agent Orange and other toxic exposures. Vietnam women veterans had proven we are not shrinking violets. We paved the way for the next generations and celebrate the advancement of women to their highest aspirations.
Glenna Goodacre of Santa Fe is the sculptor of the Vietnam Women's Memorial. Her design portrays a woman comforting a wounded soldier, a standing woman anxiously looking skyward, and a reflective kneeling woman holding a helmet. There is no rank or identifying insignia, as the monument honors all women who served their country during the Vietnam era. 8 trees surround the memorial, one for each of the nurses who died in the war and whose names are on the wall. Something about that monument moves those women, their families, their brothers and sisters, comrades in arms, touches them like no other. And we learn from those who participate in storytelling, the tradition of providing a forum for Vietnam veterans to relate their service experience. This year, as part of a candlelight vigil. On Friday evening, November 10th, it was raining. The ground was damp. A chilling wind added to the discomfort of the candlelight vigil.
Some gave an ultimate life They're no longer here with us, but they're in the spiritual world. And watch over them, take care of them, and then we think about all the missing in action, also our comrades and whatnot. And then all the veterans.
Tonight, we come together and we remember. Our hearts are connected by memories we share. We find peace in the remembering. We find grace and healing in the listening. With love and unwavering gratitude, we remember Glenda Goodacre, sculptor of our beautiful monument, for connecting us and reminding the world of women's achievements during wartime.
I'd like to tell you about Glenda Goodacre, the woman and the artist who saw our pain and our sorrow and our hearts. The woman who told of the camaraderie that was essential for us to survive what we saw and felt. She was able to imbue her creation with life, with the story each of us holds ever so deeply inside. She told that story in clay, and then it was turned into metal, in much the same way the crucible of war forged us into the women we are today.
I have identified 3 words that resonate with me and reflect the essence of the memorial: strength, growth, and gratitude. Although being an Army nurse myself and seeing the women caring for the wounded soldiers stands out most prominent to me, I do want to highlight that women also served in other capacities as depicted on the memorial. Women served in communications, intelligence, and administrative positions. Civilian women served as foreign correspondents for news agencies, worked for organizations such as the American Red Cross and the USO, and served in other government positions.
The military men and women were the wind beneath our wings. We were only a brief respite in their lives. 624 Red Cross women came home to remember. 3 did not come home to remember. Their names are not on the wall, but they're in the Red Cross Garden here in Washington, D.C. We also remember them here: Hannah, Lucinda, and Jenny. Thank you.
The chill and the dampness of the night before was all but gone on Veterans Day. The weather was getting all the praise, and the faithful returned to the Vietnam Women's Memorial for more storytelling. With a shining sun and a chill in the air, it began with a Lakota centering prayer.
Grandmother Earth, restore our lives so that we may still lead happy and productive lives. Live in the warmth of your home. Be pure in thought. Possess a clear vision, and live in harmony with everything in the circle of life with all my relatives.
Molly Stillman is the daughter of Linda Vander Buckley, a U.S. Army Corps nurse. Buckley cross-stitched 3 words in red thread on a white background: "War is bad," hung them on the wall of her office. Molly didn't realize until years later just how bad war is, until joining her mom at a concert.
What? Mom, it's me. Mom, the Viet Cong. Get down! I'll ask again, who are you? She cried. I'm your daughter. We're at an NSYNC concert at the MCI Center. She had no idea who I was. She didn't know what year it was. All she could tell me to do was to get down and to stop lying. Trying to bring her back to reality was something a 15-year-old girl at an NSYNC concert had no tools to deal with.
L.T. Ruby Paco served in Vietnam from February 1967 to February 1968. Her moment came as she stood looking at the memorial. It was what was on the back of her field jacket that caught a vet's attention.
Welcome home. Hi, I'm Ruby, LT. Pleiku, Vietnam, February 67, February 68. And so while I'm standing looking at this statue, my husband, through a camera lens, was watching me taking pictures. And he noticed a man with long hair, a long black leather coat, approach me, hand me something, and leave. So he rushed over to me and said, Ruby, what was that all about? I turned to him with tears running down my cheek, and I said, Gare, that man gave me this Purple Heart. He said, thanks, LT, and he left. And it was just a moment of unbelievable excitement, and yet it was one of those things where you could see that this soldier really cared about the nurses, about how we had cared for them.
And who can forget the Vietnam nurse who has undying respect for her superior officer?
And my corpsman and I went to midnight chow. One night after eating on the way back to the OR, Colonel Weiner stopped me and told me to remove my Think Snow button. He said it was not part of my uniform. I think I said, yes, sir. After you walked away, one of my corpsmen asked me if I was going to take the button off, and I said, no way, what's he going to do, send me to Vietnam?
The storytelling could have gone on for hours, but the main event on this Veterans Day was beginning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Color guard, retire the colors.
The National Park Service is the conservator of all the monuments on the mall, a responsibility the superintendent holds dearly.
30 years ago, visitation on the National Mall was 4 million people. Today, we're at 36 million. It takes a huge partnership to keep these memorials looking the way they should, with all of that love that we get from people from around the country to make sure they're at the standard that they should be for this country. So we in the National Park Service are honored to be entrusted with the Vietnam Veterans Memorial for the past 4 decades and to have welcomed more than 130 million visitors who come here to pay respect, to explore the lessons of the past, and to continue to ask questions about war and loss and survival and sacrifice. And as previously noted, for the past 30 years, that charge has included the care of the Vietnam Women's Memorial, which recognizes the 265,000 women, all volunteers who served in the armed forces during the Vietnam War.
Jenna Stark is a retired lieutenant colonel of the U.S. Army Nurse Corps. In her many visits to the wall, she never came in uniform nor told anyone of her background, until one day she decided it was time to come out of her civilian closet.
I did. I put on my Class A's. And the Class A's are great. I mean, they tell a very specific story if you know how to read them. And what mine said was, I am a nurse, and yeah, I was there. I am a Vietnam veteran. Words I'd never said before. And I started walking down the wall, starting from the west. And so, you know, I turned around to see who was behind me, and it was astonishing. I said, you know, people came up to me, they hugged me, they held me, they thanked me. Some just smiled through tears as they tried to speak. They wanted to let me know that they were grateful, that they remembered that we were there for them, that it mattered that we were there, that we cared for them, for their buddies, for their brothers, for their fathers, and for their sons.
Colonel Courtney Segoy was asked to bring remarks on behalf of the Vietnam Women's Memorial, and perhaps her description is among the most poignant of those shared over the years.
I stand here in the presence of heroes, and I am grateful. I'm grateful for the freedom that was earned by my ancestors, and grateful for the opportunity to challenge myself, to dream, and to achieve. As you look at the faces on the bronze figures of this Vietnam Women's Memorial, they don't have the same facial expressions that you see on other memorials on the National Mall. They're not 30 feet tall. They're not mounted on a horse. They're not standing heroically on top of a pedestal. Their expressions are a combination of compassion, grit, grief, and hope. So empowering. We're empowered by this memorial to real women who looked ordinary on the outside, but were bolder and braver than they had to be, and stronger than most wanted them to be.
The colonel admitted it was only recently that she learned of the 10-year fight by the Vietnam Women's Memorial Foundation for a place of honor for women near the wall.
Reading about their 10-year journey taught me about a different kind of strength. To lead is to influence people by providing purpose, direction, and motivation. To lead without authority, to earn the trust of skeptics, to influence those with more power, and to persevere after devastating disappointment is a different kind of leadership. It takes empathy and passion that is gained from life experience to lead this way.
Perhaps the toughest speech of the day fell to the woman who had to introduce Diane Carlson Evans. She quoted from a piece she had written at the request of the publisher of Evans's book, Healing Wounds, a Vietnam War combat nurse's 10-year fight to win women a place of honor in Washington, D.C.
Diane Carlson Evans helped to unleash the stories of thousands of women who served in Vietnam era when she bravely walked into her own past. She led the charge for a sacred space to commemorate the courage, healing, and community of this generation of women. As a result of her courageous leadership, the Vietnam Women's Memorial is an icon of healing and hope, not just for those touched by Vietnam, but for those serving in current conflicts and the generations that will follow. I am in awe of how, in claiming her own narrative, she allowed others to believe they could do the same." End quote. I conclude. Diane Carlson Evans is our friend and our inspiration and the keynote speaker of this 30th anniversary celebration. Won't you join me in welcoming our friend?
I didn't accomplish this monumental effort alone. I guess that's why I have so many friends. I am grateful to all my friends and to all of our allies, and can never thank enough each and every person, so many of you who are here today, who made a difference. In the end, was it worth fighting a second war, the one back here at home? I see the answer every time I visit the Vietnam Women's Memorial or read another letter of gratitude. My sister veterans finally received their tribute and their path to healing. Never underestimate the power that a memorial has in healing the wounds of war, but never underestimate the power of women either. And now a call to action. We pass the torch, leaving our enduring legacies to you, linking the past to the future.
A moment of personal and painful memories brought her comments to a close.
Gold Star families, pieces of our hearts, joined those of your loved ones when you couldn't be there with them. We tried our best, a privilege that cannot be measured. Mercifully, they are here with us forever.
You were born in California, New York, and Tennessee. You're every generation's hope of all that we can be. Oh, this land between the oceans is the home that you defend. You're my mother, you're my daughter, my sister, my friend. No one ever had to ask you, it seemed you always knew. Standing up for what you know is right is all that you could do. Not one to look the other way, you chose to serve with pride and dared to cross the boundaries, knowing God was on your side. And I will always remember you, for you remembered me. Always there when I needed you, always there protecting my You taught us strength and courage and the will to never fail, and that throughout every conflict, somehow triumph would prevail. You made your peace with history and stand among the brave.